For a while now, Kentucky's been one of the best basketball programs in the entire country. If you're a 5-star recruit and you want to play for a good coach and more than likely get to the NBA, that's the school you want to go to. Now yes, there is some other legendary coaches that are still in the game, and there's also some other great schools to go to, but Kentucky, there's just something about the name and brand, it attracts people. It seems like if you're a kid growing up, the three main schools you think about playing for is Duke, North Carolina, and Kentucky, aka the Blue Bloods. And like I said, there is some other good programs out there, but at least to me, those stick out in my mind. I also can't forget to mention and throw in there that Kentucky is pretty much the Alabama of basketball. I realize some of you may not agree with that, but before you try to kill me in the comment section, hear me out. Of course, I'm not referring to national championships, because when you talk about these teams winning championships, Alabama and Kentucky comparing the football to basketball, it's not even close. That's not what I was talking about. What I'm getting to is number one, the program, but you also have the culture. The culture of Kentucky basketball really reminds me of the culture at Alabama football. For example, I'll talk about this most recent year. Alabama got to the national championship and they barely won some games here and there, and yet the fans were complaining all throughout the season. Why were the fans complaining? Because they weren't living up to and playing up to that Alabama standard early on in the year. The expectations that Alabama fans have for their football team is through the roof, and I've never seen anything like it before, and it's actually somewhat bad. It got to the point this season where Alabama fans were crying because they barely beat Arkansas and LSU. I get it 100%. They didn't play that good in the game, but I just don't understand how you can be mad about your team winning a tough SEC game. Yeah, if Alabama would have struggled against an FCS team, I see your argument. I don't want to dive deep into detail with that too much. I think you get the point. That right there just goes to show you the standard at Alabama is so high. It all goes back to the culture and the gold standard. That same culture you see at Alabama football is very similar to what you see with Kentucky basketball. These Kentucky basketball fans hold their team to an extremely high standard, and if they're not doing good, they're going to let them know about it. It doesn't matter if they go 40-0. Next year, they're still going to expect them to do the same thing. There's no drop off. With that being said, last year, it was rough, and I'll leave it at that. Kentucky fans know what I'm talking about. It was so bad at times, I couldn't help but laugh, and it was pitiful. They weren't even really a bad team, they just couldn't close out games. I'm not even going to look it up, but I'm almost 99% sure they finished the season 9-16. You see the record and you go, what the crap, they was 9-16, but here's something the record doesn't tell you. All of those 16 losses, about 10 or 11 of them, they lost by 2 to 3 points. That team last year easily could have been good if they had 1 to 2 guys to fix the problems. But that right there was the problem. They didn't have those guys, and they didn't have a team leader. On the contrary though, fast forward in time to 2022, this season, it's been flip-flopped. At times, they have looked like the best, and let me repeat that, the best team in the country, but at other times they haven't looked so good. But however, there is some other stuff going on, and I'm going to tell you right now, Kentucky basketball is in major trouble. What's good, y'all? Real quick, I haven't done this in about a month, but every time we do it, it helps out the channel, and you guys seem to like it. In a video I posted 2 to 3 months ago, I said, hey, if you're not subscribed, hit that subscribe button and I'll tell you how many new subscribers we gained from the video. And we gained over something like 500 to 600. All I had to do is ask you guys to do that and you helped me out, so I appreciate it. Let's do it again on this video. If you're new to the channel or simply not subscribed, let's see how many new subscribers we can gain. However many we gain, I'll tell you in a video probably in 1 to 2 days. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed and hopefully we can gain some new subscribers. Let's get into it. Kentucky basketball. There's no in-betweens. You either hate this team or you love this team. Their season's been interesting and for the most part it's been good. They started the season out hot and currently they're ranked 4th in the country. It doesn't get too much better. Unfortunately for the Kentucky fans, right when you thought everything was going your way and it was smooth sailing, you got a problem. And maybe it's not just even one problem, but it's multiple ones. Let's start off by talking about the Auburn game where they happen to lose 80 to 71. I hate when there's an injury and you got fans making excuses for that, but when it's one of your best players, I understand. But at the same time, it doesn't matter if your best player got hurt or he didn't get hurt, you lost the game. If you don't know what I'm talking about, Mr. Ty Washington early in the game, he only played like 9 minutes. He got hurt and that set the tone for the rest of the game, and Kentucky's offense, they couldn't get into a flow. I don't care what team you are, Kentucky, Auburn, Gonzaga, Bama, Vanderbilt, Tennessee, whoever in the country, if you lose your starting point guard, 2 guard, or maybe even your 3 guard, it's going to cause some problems. And you know why it caused a lot of problems for Kentucky? Because there's one thing I know. TyTy Washington might just be the most valuable player on the team outside of Oscar Tshiebwe. What about Tshiebwe? He is one of the most underrated players in the country. That dude is a beast. A little fun fact to throw in there, he's the only player in the country and he's on pace to average 15 rebounds and 15 points per game. I do also like the addition of Sahvir Wheeler, but I also see him as hit or miss. Yes, he's going to make some plays here and there, but whenever you're playing a great defensive team and they have length and size, I don't see him as an X factor. Of course, he's a good player and I think he's a good point guard to have on the team, but TyTy Washington, he is the X factor that Kentucky needs and he separates him from everybody else. The Kentucky offense, the dribble drive, I've been following it for years. It's great and with these players it works fine. You're not really banking on Wheeler going out there giving you 20 points a night. If he gives you anything over 12 or 13, it's a bonus. What you are banking on is him holding, protecting the ball, and getting the ball to the shooters, which is Grady and TyTy Washington. I think we can all agree Kentucky is at their best form whenever Sahvir's dishing out the ball to Grady, making plays, and also dishing it out to Washington. Last thing I'm going to say about this Auburn game, and we're going to get a move on. Let's look at the stats. Grady was 5 for 9, 17 points. You'll take that. Wheeler was 7 for 12 and also had 17 points. You'll more than take that. If you would have told Kentucky fans that Tshiebwe would have had 16, Wheeler had 17, and Grady had 17, they'd have been like, oh yeah, we won this game by 20. But you didn't. What was the X factor? It all goes back to TyTy Washington. He only played 9 minutes and had 4 points. I love Davion Mintz. I think he's a great player, and he saved that team last year from being horrendous. But he's not TyTy Washington. He's not as talented. Kentucky fans know this. Davion's hit or miss. He might give you 25 and he might give you 2. When they lost that game, I didn't think too much of it. I was giving them the same excuse some of you was. Oh, one of their best players got hurt. It doesn't matter. And then what do you know? Only 2 games later against Kansas, I mean this 100%, Kentucky looked like the best team in the country. I don't think some of you quite understand how impressive it is to go in a hostile environment like Kansas on the road and not just beat them, but dominate them. I don't got to say too much about this game. It was complete domination. If you watch this game, you know what I'm talking about. Kansas didn't even play good. It was just a simple case that Kentucky was that much better. I said Kansas didn't play good. I meant Kansas didn't play bad. Kansas didn't shoot lights out, but they still shot over 40% and lost by 20 points. In that game, Washington wasn't too impressive. He was only 1 for 9, but Keon Brooks played out of his mind and he had 27 points. That's the thing with Washington. Even if he's not a factor, he is a factor. Him being on the court is enough. So after that game, I was feeling really good on Kentucky. I'm thinking they're going to make a Final Four run, and they got one of the best starting 5 in the country. I am going to nitpick here. One downside about the team that does worry me is their bench play. It's a big drop off, and it does concern me, especially when Tshiebwe comes out of the game. I like Lance Ware as the backup center, but he's not Tshiebwe. After that Kansas game, they beat Vanderbilt, Alabama at Alabama, which was impressive. Also beat Kentucky and murdered Florida. This got them all the way up to number 4 in the rankings, and last night they had a big, and I mean big matchup against Tennessee. Can we label Kentucky and Tennessee as a rival? I think so. Both teams hate each other. They're next door neighbors, so we're going to call them rivals. Last night I made sure I cleared my schedule for this 8 p.m. matchup because I wanted to see 2 heavyweights go at it. And as a college basketball fan, I just wanted to see some good basketball. And I was hoping and expecting it to go down to the wire. And boy oh boy, I couldn't have been any more wrong. Not only did the game not go down to the wire, but it was never even close and never even competitive after the first 5 to 6 minutes. What was the score at half? 46-32, and out of halftime I remember the ESPN commentator saying that John Calipari told his team, get ready because we're going to make a comeback for the ages, and that didn't age well. The biggest play of the game was early in the second half, and it was right when it started. TyTy Washington, he got hurt again. What's new? I'm not going to lie, I haven't watched every single Kentucky game. I try to catch all the ones I think that are going to be entertaining, and it seems like every time I turn on my TV, Washington gets hurt. I can only help but feel bad for him, but it comes to a certain point in time where this is also hurting the teammate chemistry. Yo, Matt, what do you mean it's hurting the teammate chemistry? Well, what you saw last night is exactly what I'm talking about. You don't have to be a basketball rocket scientist engineer to figure out that whenever TyTy Washington went out of the game, the offense was stagnant. It looked like Kentucky didn't know how to run offense in the second half, and they didn't know what they were doing. I do want to give credit to Tennessee, take nothing away from them. They played a great and solid game, but Tennessee, they're not more talented and they're not better than Kentucky. The only guy that comes close to matching Kentucky's talent is Kennedy Chandler for Tennessee, and that's about it. Every single time that Washington gets hurt, you know what I see? I see that Kentucky team from last year. I love the Grady kid. He's a great shooter, and he's what Kentucky needed and a missing piece from the team last year. Last year's Kentucky team couldn't shoot to save their life, and Kentucky's what they need, a spot-up shooter. That's also part of his problem. He's a spot-up shooter and nothing more. If he does drive, it's rare, and if he doesn't get an open look, he's almost a non-factor. I understand Grady, you're supposed to sit in the corner and wait for the ball to get to you in that Calipari offense, but there comes to a certain point in time when you just gotta go get it and make a play. There's no excuse to play 37 minutes and go 2 from 9 and have 6 points. What about Severe Wheeler? Yeah, he's a good point guard, but he's too short to go off for 25 or 30 points. He may blow past his guy, but whenever he gets in the paint, he has to do a floater or back it down or pass. He's not this offensive-minded guy that's going to give you 25 or 30 points, which you needed last night. You know who can give you 25 or 30 points and give you that scoring you need is Washington. And last but not least, rounding out the starting 5, you had Keon Brooks, he gave you 8, and you had Tshiebwe. And you know you're going to get with Tshiebwe. You're going to get about 15 points and 15 rebounds. He's consistent. My concern, and as to why Kentucky is in a major mess, is because of 1, Ty Washington. He can't stay healthy, and that's going to hurt him down the road. And number 2, the bench play. Whenever Washington does come out of the game, and I can only assume he's going to have an injury problem throughout the rest of the year, it's a drop-off. Who on the Kentucky bench outside of Jacob Toppin at times is a threat, and I don't even think Toppin is all that good right now. We know what Davion Mintz is. He's not that great of a player. He's a decent player, but not that great. I'm not even going to go down the entire roster. You know it's just not that good. And that's what scares me, because I didn't think Tennessee played out of their mind. They only shot 44% from the field. I just simply think Kentucky's offense isn't even all that good, and it wasn't that great when Washington was in there in the first place. But once you take him out, it's almost pitiful. I'm going to talk about this Alabama game. Yeah, they won 66-55. It was double digits, but I'm going to tell you right now, if you watch that game, Alabama couldn't throw it in an ocean if they wanted to. I'm not going to discredit a road win in the SEC against a top 25 team, but Kentucky didn't impress me too much. Alabama shot 28% from the field and 10% on three-pointers, going 3 for 30. If a team goes 3 for 30 on threes and you only beat them by 10, I also believe you didn't play that good either. What was the key factor in that game? It was Washington. Kentucky couldn't get buckets from time to time, and he'd pull up and do that little midi that he loves. Ty gives you what you need on a championship caliber team. A guy who can get you a bucket when you're in a drought or you simply just need one. And with him being hurt, I think he's been hurt, 3 games now? And it's just going to be an injury that lingers. It's not good. Some of you may be trying to argue and say, well, they blew out Tennessee a few weeks ago, and you know what? Let's take a look at that game. Yeah, they did beat Tennessee 107-79, but guess who played good? Ty Washington. He was 10 for 13 and had 28 points. Let's do the math. Kentucky won by, what do you know? 28 points. Do you not see the remedy in the pattern going on? If Washington's not healthy and he's not in the game and he's not going to be not just valuable, but he's not available later in the season, this Kentucky team, they're not just in a slight, little problem. They're in a major problem and mess. They can't score and compete with these teams if Washington's not playing and he's not in the game. When does Grady shine? When does Grady start to go off and hit 2 to 3 threes? It's whenever the other players are rolling like Washington and Severe Wheeler. You saw last night firsthand, if the team needs to depend on Grady to make plays, it's not going to happen. If you're a Kentucky fan, I'm not going to say push the panic button, but I'd have my hand really close. Let me know your thoughts down below. But with all that being said, it's going to wrap up this video. Hope you guys enjoyed. Hope you guys learned something. If you're new to the channel, join the family. Hit that subscribe button. Leave a like. Do a nice stuff. And I'm out. Peace.